Anthony Hubbard is an 11-year-old male student who has been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. He has had frequent ear infections in the past. He had tubes placed in his ears when he was 2 years old. Anthony's mom indicates a normal pregnancy and delivery. Anthony sat up alone on time, walked at a year and a half, was toilet trained by the age of 3, spoke his first words at the age of 2, and spoke 2 to 3 words by the age of 3. Anthony has previously received services for a speech impairment. He no longer receives those services. Up until a year ago, Anthony lived with his mother. He is now in the custody of his maternal grandparents. Both grandparents work full-time. He has no siblings, but he does have an aunt and a cousin that he frequently spends time with. Anthony was administered the Reynolds Intellectual Screening Test, the RIST, on February 2, 2016. The RIST is used to provide an overall estimate of his intelligence. This test can be used from ages 3 to 94 and only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to administer. The RIST consists of 2 subtests: Guess What, a verbal subtest, and Odd Item Out, a nonverbal subtest. The Guess What is a test that requires verbal reasoning, vocabulary, language development, and a verbal knowledge base. Students given the test are given a set of 2 to 4 clues and asked to figure out the object or concept which is being described. An example would be, what is made of wood, filled with lead, and used for writing? The answer would be pencil. On the Odd Item Out portion of the assessment, students are presented with a card that has 5 to 7 pictures, and they're asked which one does not belong. This subtest measures nonverbal reasoning skills, but also requires the use of spatial ability, visual imagery, and other nonverbal skills on various items. The scores that can be obtained are percentile ranks, 90% and 95% confidence intervals, T-scores, Z-scores, NCEs, and STANINs. Anthony obtained a score of 82 with a percentile rank of 12. At the 95% confidence interval, his true score is said to fall between 77 and 89. Anthony performed below average on both subtests. Anthony was also given the Kaufman Test of Educational Achievement 3rd edition, the KTA-3, on December 15, 2015. The KTA-3 is an individualized administered battery that provides in-depth assessment of key academic skills. It can be used from ages 4 to 25 years 11 months. Anthony was given the letter and word recognition, where students are required to identify letters and pronounce words of increased difficulty. The reading comprehension, which is an untimed test of silent reading comprehension, was also given. Early items on this test require matching a symbol or words with a corresponding picture. A middle item will require reading and instruction, and the student performs an action. A later item might include reading passages that become more difficult as the test goes on. The student will be asked to answer literal and inferential questions about the passages. The hardest items require rearranging 5 sentences into a cohesive paragraph and then answering comprehension questions about the paragraph. The written expression assessment was given, but he would not attempt it. In this assessment, it starts with younger students tracing and copying letters, words, and sentences from dictation. From first grade up, the students complete writing tasks at a grade-appropriate level. This can include writing sentences from dictation, adding punctuation and capitalization, filling in words that are missing, and writing complete sentences. The last test he was given was Math Concepts and Application Assessment. In this test, the student responds orally to items which would require application of math principles to real-life situations. The assessment looks at number and operation concepts, time and money, measurement, geometry, fractions and decimals, data investigation, and even higher math concepts. The scores that can be obtained are age and grade-based standard scores, age and grade equivalents, percentile ranks, NCEs, which are the normal curve equivalents, STANINs, and a growth scale value. The following are the results that he obtained. On letter and word recognition, he received a standard score of 58, a percentile rank of 0.3, and a descriptive category low. On reading comprehension, he had a standard score of 68, a percentile rank of 2, and a descriptive category low. On math concepts and application, he received a standard score of 67, a percentile rank of 1, and the descriptive category of low. We also looked at Anthony's STAR reading and math test, which was administered December 6, 2015. This test yielded the following results. Reading, he scored in the national percentile rank 12%, and math 6%. The STAR tests are standards-based assessment that start with easier questions and adjust either harder or easier depending on how the student answers the questions. The STAR assessment is a universal screener that is given 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end. This assessment shows students who are meeting benchmarks as well as those who are in need of intervention. On a diagnostic report, you receive a scaled score, percentile rank, grade equivalency, and instructional reading level. An instructional report will indicate skills that the student is ready to work on. A review of the Stanford 10, which was administered on April 8, 2015, yielded the following results. Total reading, 1 percentile. Language, the 5th percentile. Total math, 6th percentile. The Stanford 10 is a nationally standardized test that can be given from kindergarten to 12th grade. Results that can be extracted from this assessment include norm reference scores, scaled score, grade equivalence, stay 9, and national percentile rank, graphed achievement percentile, and content cluster skill evaluations. These scores compare Anthony to other first grade students who were taking the test in the nation. Percentile ranks between 25 to 75 are considered average. On the social and physical adaptive behavior observation, Anthony was compared to other students in his classroom who were deemed to have age-appropriate skills. This was completed by a classroom teacher on October 23, 2015. With communication, he mainly communicates verbally but does not always speak in complete sentences or understands the rules of conversation. In self-care, he does not keep up with his materials, loses his supplies, and often comes to school without a backpack. With social skills, he interacts with peers but does not appear to get along with them and bothers them constantly. In the area of home living, he appears to function at home much the same way he does at school. In the area of community use, he is not allowed to run errands within the school because he is not reliable to come back to class. He's often distracting in the cafeteria. He's constantly reminded to do his work and just writes random things most of the time. He has no understanding of health and safety. His hands are frequently dirty, and he runs a great deal in the hallway. On functional academics, he cannot perform any grade level requirements, and he is functioning at a preschool level at this time. In the area of leisure, he does engage in age-appropriate activities, but his poor social skills prevent him from participating in group activities. A review of the Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Evaluation Scale 4th edition school version looks at inattentive and then also hyperactive and impulsive behaviors. This was scored on December 11, 2015. The teacher gave him a standard score of 1 on inattentive and a 2 on hyperactive impulsive. A review of the Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder Evaluation Scale 4th edition home version. His grandmother completed this on February the 11th, 2016, and he got the following results. He got a standard score of 4 on inattentive and a 5 on hyperactive impulsive. A subscale standard score of 7 to 13 is considered statistically average. Standard scores below 7 are considered atypical and are a cause for concern. A score below 1 indicates a serious level of concern. The results of these assessments indicate that Anthony was eligible for services under other health impaired because of his ADHD. Anthony is currently being served in the general education classroom with 20 other students. He receives inclusive services for math and reading and language arts, 30 minutes a day for each, 5 days a week. He receives one-on-one reading instruction with a special education teacher for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week, he comes to the special education classroom with 5 other students for enrichment activities where we work on reading and math deficits. I feel that the testing that was completed on Anthony was correct and are pretty indicative of his skills. He has shown some improvement since this time. He is due for a reevaluation this year, but I feel fairly certain that Anthony will continue to be eligible for services. He's now functioning on about a first grade level, so he has made some gains, but it is still a struggle for him. The change in placement from his mom to his grandparents' house has made quite a difference. Thank you.